Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Today is a special episode. It's an episode I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and because of scheduling conflicts and kids and just everyday life, I have not been able to plan this one out. This is our 100th episode, so I wanted to make it special. And we finally got around. We finally coordinated our schedules, which doesn't seem like it'd be hard to do because we live in the same house, but it was. And hopefully that gives away who my guest is. Today on the podcast is my wife, Jacqueline. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our story, or my story, our story of starting the business from basically nothing, living with her parents and growing it to what it is today. We're going to talk about that journey, and we're also going to hear deeply a spouse's wife's perspective on being married to an entrepreneur and going through everything with me as we built this business together. So Jacqueline, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You nervous? You ready? You excited?
Let's do it. Let's jump right in.
Okay. So I guess let's just start in the beginning. And when we first met, so we met when we were 15 and 16 years old. Did you know you're going to be marrying an entrepreneur?
No.
Okay. Who did you think I was? What did you think I was going to be?
I thought I was marrying a fireman.
That makes sense.
In high school, when you did the cadet program, I was super excited because I thought this is going to be great.
Yeah, you hit the payday. Firemen, they make great money.
And not just the money, just a stable career, you know, and they have a lot they can offer their families, flexible scheduling, things like that. Benefits. They can take longer trips, things like that. So I knew, since your dad was a fireman, I thought this is perfect. Brandon's gonna be a fireman. This will be great for us. And then when you finished your little cadet program, you came to me and said, I don't want to be a fireman after all.
But we were still in high school.
We were still in high school, but I thought, oh no. And then I had no idea what you wanted to do. Yeah. And I think you were trying to discover it for yourself too.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I know I got a scholarship to go run, and I knew I might as well go to school. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Yeah. A lot of the listeners don't know that, but in high school I did the fire cadet program, so I'd go on calls with the firemen and learn about what they did and all that stuff. And then didn't have a great experience with it. And then I was like, yeah, it's just not what I want to do. At what point would you say was the moment you realized, okay, this is what he's going to do?
When we were in college and you were making humor websites, I can tell you had a lot of joy in doing that. Just the fact that you can kind of be your own boss, you can stay up late, you can, at the time in college, it was just money on the side for pizza and going out and things like that. But I could tell like there was a real passion there with creating and just kind of being your own little boss. And I thought, he's probably just going to work on computers now. The idea of like working on computers or the internet or websites, something along those lines, I can kind of see it starting to develop, because after you built up one and would start a second or third one, I could tell it just kind of kept getting bigger, and that you kind of, it seemed natural to you to kind of keep doing that.
Yeah. And I don't think I've talked about it much on the podcast, but that's how I made money in college. I would build up these humor websites, and that's back when MySpace was really popular, and you could post HTML codes on your profiles and stuff. And so I would have a bunch of funny pictures and videos and stuff on my website with a HTML code that people could copy and put on their MySpace, and then all of a sudden the picture would appear and it had a link back to my site, and we would just grow them really fast and sell them for a couple $1,000. And I just did that over and over and over again. And then I quit school. I quit college. I stopped going to school. How was that? What was going through your head?
I took that harder. I think I just came from a family that didn't take risks, that, going to school, getting education, proper job was just what we did.
Yeah.
Also, society kind of expects that of you. And when you came to me junior year at Christmas break and told me I'm not going back, I was heartbroken just because I thought if something doesn't work out down the road, I didn't want it to be that, you said, oh, I wish I'd finished my degree.
Right.
Like now I need my degree for this new job I want to do. And I wish I'd gone back. And then just you have to go back at a later age, I thought would be even harder. So I was really conflicted. I wanted to be supportive, but I thought it was also a little bit crazy at the same time because you were so close.
Yeah.
You only had one more year, just finish it off and you can still do what you want to do, but just put it off a year. And I would say you are a maybe stubborn or strong-willed person, and you were just, no way, Jose, you were going to do it your way. And so I said, okay.
Yeah. And we weren't married yet.
We weren't, no.
And, but I didn't quit to start a business. I quit to work for my dad's business.
Yes.
Because it was growing, and it was a great opportunity had it worked out to have a great paying job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just I didn't want to be in school anymore. I was so over it. I did not enjoy it. I wasn't running anymore either because I'd broken my back and ran for a couple of years, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I got diagnosed with Lyme disease and all that stuff. Do you remember me being diagnosed with Lyme disease?
I do. I was a little bit in denial. I thought perhaps it's in your head or it's just related to your accident or depression or something. And I just kind of kept thinking, for as long as I've known you, I've never seen any other symptoms, like in the past or previous years of it. And why suddenly now, and why is this being triggered? But then when I kind of saw you to get more sick, and I think perhaps another family member or two of yours that also had it, it kind of made sense. And then I just wanted to do everything I could to just be supportive and help you, through your health journey.
Yeah, that was brutal. And I think breaking my back is what triggered it. Like it was dormant in my body.
Right, I see now. That makes sense. Yeah.
And then it triggered it. And then my times and my energy level just got so low when I was running. I remember running and I was like, cardiovascular, like my breathing was totally fine. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is not painful. Normally when we do like speed workouts and stuff, it's incredibly painful, but I remember it not being painful, but just thinking I literally can't move my legs any faster than they're going. Like it's one of those, when you have a dream and you just can't run and you feel like it felt like that. And so started working with my dad, and you were finishing out school, and then I was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And then, do you remember what happened after that? I'm kind of drawing a blank.
When we finished school, we both ended up coming back home to our hometown of Camarillo, and immediately wanted to move in together with some other college friends.
Oh, right. Yep.
I thought that was a great idea. All four of us had finished college at the same time and thought, why move back in with our parents? Let's just get a house together. So we did that, and you worked for your dad's company for a while. And like you said, at first it was doing very well. But then when it started to turn, that's when I think was more a pivotal point for us, because we both knew you couldn't stay there.
Right.
And then you also don't have a college degree, and kind of where are you going to go now?
Right.
And you just kind of came to me and said, like, you want to have your own business. You have all these great ideas. And do you think you can really do it? And so we really had some of those talks of, are you really going to quit? And like, what's next?
Yeah. But I didn't quit. I hung on for a while.
You did. You hung on for quite a while. And I think that actually seemed harder in some ways.
Yeah. with working for family, especially your dad, it can get murky, I guess. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was that. But I remember we ended up moving out of that home with our friends and into our own place with like another roommate. Mm-hmm. And I was just doing websites on the side. Mm-hmm. And I think you were working in Malibu at a retail shop, like you were a manager at 7 Jeans or something like that.
Yeah. I was pretty much supporting us because you had no money.
Right.
We were, I would say basically living off like our little savings that we had. And it was just, I was working a ton of hours, and we didn't really have a savings. I know. It was just kind of like a little bit that we had. We put some money in, but then we took it out. We used our savings account like a checking account. It was like not really going anywhere, not building up. And
paycheck to paycheck. Yeah.
It was just kind of spinning in circles, really.
Well, and then we were engaged. We were getting married. Mm-hmm. And luckily our parents helped us out with the wedding. But I remember doing websites, going to Craigslist and putting ads in the paper at Craigslist saying, I'll build websites for $50.
Right.
and just popping them out, just boom, 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 building websites. Because I had learned HTML through all the humor websites and all of that stuff, doing that. And then we still weren't able to barely make ends meet, even with a roommate. It was always
totally.
paycheck to paycheck. And what did we do for dates back then?
Date night was probably just like a pizza.
It was the Hot and Ready's at Little Caesars for $5.
Yes. And, you know, like a thing of soda. And that was just like the best. And then for a big treat, if we were really going all out, which like never happened, but when it did, it was like, okay, we're just going to do it. We went to Olive Garden. It was just like all you can eat salad bar. And,
well, they had this special, all you can eat pasta in bread.
Bowls.
Yeah, it was like $40.
I can't imagine the quality of that food.
No. That would destroy my insides.
Definitely can't have it now, but that was a big deal. That was just like, let's just do it and have like a real special night. But yeah, it's funny. It's like, I wouldn't say it was a hard time like then, not yet anyways. We didn't have children because we kind of just didn't know any other way.
Yeah.
It was kind of just like college, but you're just a little older.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, so you're kind of used to not having any money and doing those things, but it's one of those things. A lot we were getting married and things were changing, and it just wasn't comfortable. We weren't comfortable by any means, as far as like financially comfortable. Like we were always scrounging for money and wondering where it was going to come. And at one point, I had to go get a job working door to door. Remember that? For it was like a Groupon site.
Yes.
And I hate walking door to door. Like I hate selling. I hate doing that stuff, but I had to do it. They paid me like $500 a month, and I would go try. It's like a Groupon site, and I would try to sell people into that. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember you calling me one day on your lunch break, and you were sitting in your car having like Baja Fresh or something, and you were like, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I literally can't get back in my car and go to the next neighborhood and go door to door. I can't do it. I'm just going to quit right now. And I thought maybe finish off the week and just like see how it goes. Maybe you're having a bad day and you're like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just done. This is not for me. And I refuse to do this. And I was like, okay. And again, trying to be supportive and also thinking like, where are we going with this? This is a little crazy. Trying to find your footing.
I got fired that day.
So the stars aligned anyways in your favor, and you were let go, you know.
I got off the call with you, and then Max, the business owner, called me and was like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore, like the site, I guess.
Oh, right.
And he's like, so today's your last day. I'm like, well, that worked out.
Yeah, that was perfect.
That was perfect. But here's the thing is like, we still were nowhere. Like I was still kind of working for my dad. I wasn't getting paychecks at all. Like maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks or something like that. They were coming in late. I was missing them. And so that's what made it tough, really. Like I just wasn't getting paid for working at my dad's place.
Because you're still working full time, and then there's all this missing money. So then it was kind of like, what do we do now?
But I felt trapped. I felt so trapped because I didn't have the degree. I didn't know what else I was going to go do. I refused to go get a job because I was like that last one I just had. Like it had that just had this
soul sucking.
It was soul sucking. Yeah. It was like, yeah, exactly. It was crushing my soul. So we got married and all that stuff. But I mean, what was it like, as a spouse or a partner to see all of that going on? Do you remember?
I remember feeling, a little bit frustrated.
At me?
Not at you, but just at the situation where I knew you were capable of so much more and you weren't living up to your potential, and that you're, smart and confident and you had experience with computers. And I just knew these other jobs that you were doing were not, the right fit for you, but I didn't know what was. And, it was a little hard to be supportive of you kind of trying new things because it felt very unstable.
I was trying a lot.
And so therefore I needed to keep a stable job, and I didn't care for my career.
Right.
In retail management. I had gone to school to be a teacher and then graduated and thought I instantly don't know that I want to do this after all.
Right.
So I couldn't really leave retail management and try some other, fun careers on the side to kind of find my place, because I felt like you were doing that.
You're right.
So I kind of just stuck with retail much longer than I wanted to or intended to, until you found your footing.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because I remember you came to me and you were like, hey, I want to be an interior designer. And there's this program online and they give you a certification and
It's like a whole video course.
Yeah, a
It's
whole video course and stuff.
Deal.
And
support.
Yeah, support calls.
Like before
like
before all this.
Yeah.
These were new concepts, new ideas that I just stumbled across.
And it was $2,000. It was $2,000 for this course and we had no money. And I remember going, Jacqueline, we don't have $2,000. There's no way we can do this. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, but we get a certification and then I can go do it. And I was like, it's just some made up certification that someone created some stupid program. They created some stupid certification, said, here, let me stamp a thing on a paper.
Slap the star on the
certified
checkout page.
For $2,000.
Yeah.
Like, why would we do that? Just go be the interior designer. Right. And then ironically, here we are doing the exact same thing. Like, I don't have a certification program, but we're teaching a course.
It was more that you felt like by going through the program, you could get, I guess, that much more confidence to go out in the world instead of just going and doing it.
Well, I understand the course model now. Obviously, it's you're not really paying for the certification. Like, yeah, they can show it. You could have shown it to your employees, but you're paying for that person's experience to speed along your experience. I didn't get it back then. Obviously I get it now because that's what we do. But yeah, and then we got married and then our roommate was moving out and we couldn't afford that place anymore.
Right.
And so we're like, what the heck are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And do you remember what we ended up doing?
I can't remember. If you could refresh my memory.
We ended up trying to get this hole in the wall place in Camarillo that was like the ghetto of the ghetto. And it was this tiny little place. And then they did something and tried to screw us over on the down payment or something like that. And we were leaving to go to Oregon. Remember that?
I remember actually something. You're right. It was like, it wasn't even like a house. It was like a back house of someone's house on a property or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
Up in the Heights area. And they wanted us to pay the first or second, third month, like up front. But they hadn't even told us if we got the place yet.
No,
or something
I remember what
like
it was.
That.
We were leaving to go to Oregon.
Right.
And we told them for like a week or two. And they said, well, you owe us the first months. We signed the contract and everything. You owe us the first month rent on this place before you leave. So we said, okay. And then we're like, we're going to leave. And they said, well, if you're going to be gone, we want to go do repairs inside of the place and stuff like that since you're going to be gone. And then we told them, no. Like, if you're going to still need to repair the place, we shouldn't be paying rent on it while you're repairing it.
Right. Like the house wasn't
regardless
ready
of
to be lived in.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't ready to be lived in.
You needed some major things, it sounded like.
Right. It wasn't ready to be lived in, but you guys can be gone for 2 weeks on your trip, so we'll just take care of it all then.
Yeah,
and then we said, well, we're not going to pay for the month if it's not ready to be moved in.
Yeah,
we'll
just move in a month later.
Yeah, and they said, well, what's the difference? You're not going to be here. And it's like, well, it shouldn't matter. If the house isn't ready and not livable, we shouldn't be paying rent on it. And we got an argument, and then we probably could have taken them to court and won, but I remember the guy ripped the contract up in front of your face. Remember that?
Yeah, at the time, I still didn't care, then and now. I think they ended up renting it to like 3 families in one kind of thing. It was just
something like that.
It was not meant to be, that's for sure.
Well, the problem is that we were leaving to Oregon.
Right.
And we came back. We didn't have a place to stay.
Right.
So what we ended up doing was just going to your parents and just saying, can we leave our stuff in your garage? And we'll just stay at your place for a couple of weeks until we figure out where we're going to go. Do you remember that? That's literally how the conversation went.
Yeah, I don't know that we said a couple of weeks, a few months maybe. So I kind of thought it would just be temporary, a few months, 6 months, until we kind of figure ourselves out. And they said yes right away. We're very supportive, very understanding. You don't have to pay us rent. Don't worry about it. They were excited to have us. There was no... you need to pay rent or anything like that. They were just very understanding, I think, because they were so excited and still coming off the high of us getting married in that huge wedding and just that kind of thing, that they're sure. So we moved in with them.
And here's the thing. I was still working for my dad back then too. I hadn't quit yet. And I was still doing the whole, like, not getting paychecks and stuff like that. And then do you remember when we finally made the decision to go all in on the business, just finally start something and go all in? Because there's still kind of like half-assed efforts and little small project type things that I was doing.
I remember I wanted you to quit working for your dad much sooner than you did. I could just see this spiral and I didn't want you being sucked down with it. And it was like, you just got to tell them. And I think that was a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But once you did, I think it seemed kind of freeing, like the possibility is like, now you can do anything you want. I can't say I remember the exact moment that you said you were going to start the business, but I know there were some long, walks and talks on the beach of these ideas. I want to have a company and with websites, and I'm going to help other businesses. And it kind of just kept evolving, really.
Yeah.
Over time. I remember being so concerned, thinking, but you don't even have a mission statement yet. Like, what's your mission statement?
Still
like,
don't
all
have
companies have one. And you're like, I don't know. I'll figure it out later. And I don't think we ever got around to doing that. But in my mind, there was like a certain order of like how things were supposed to be done before you went out in the world to do this. And you had a totally different approach. And it was like, let's just do it first. And then we'll figure it out as we go. And that's
shooting the name.
Literally how we ran the business.
Yeah. I do remember the conversation when we first finally made the shift. Going back to what you said about my dad and telling him that I was going to stop working there. It was hard. Like, it was extremely hard because like, it's my dad and his company's going under, and I wanted to stay around to help, and, it's just hard to have that conversation. And then I finally had it. And then he asked me to stay. I said, I'm going to stay for 2 weeks. And then he asked me to stay for like another 2 weeks. And then that was up. And then he asked me to stay for another. And I just said no.
It just kind of kept going for months. And
I couldn't do it.
It wasn't in anyone's best interest that you were still there.
I couldn't do it. And we were on a walk. And you basically just told me, go and do it. Like, why aren't you starting the business? If you've been talking about it, we just need to go do it. And so we did. And you had a different job back then. Now at the working
for the doctor,
an optometrist.
Yeah.
So you weren't in retail anymore, and so you could at least have weekends off and things like that. So what happened after that? What was it like for you as we started it? And because I remember you saying like, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "I think I'm going to do this thing called Sold with Video and real estate videos and stuff like." Do you remember that walk and that talk?
Real estate videos. I remember thinking, "This is it." There's so many homes being sold, so many videos and possibilities like to be made. Like, this is going to bring in a lot of business and a lot of work, and we'll have tons of employees. And I was excited, and then it kind of didn't really go that way at all. In fact, there was a learning curve with realtors that we realized there was just not going to happen at that time. And then you had to pivot again. But yeah, it was hard. It was challenging. It was frustrating. I remember telling, coworkers and stuff, and they'd ask about you and your work. And I'm like, well, Brand's kind of trying this or kind of trying that, and we're still figuring it out. And I remember them looking at me like it was just crazy, or thinking, well, you kind of need to give your husband like a deadline, to figure out what he's really doing, because, how long do you want to be living with your parents for? This stuff could drag on for years. And while I heard what they were saying, I was still trying to be a supportive wife. I knew, deep down, if you had this dream to start your own company, however, whatever it was and how it was evolving was not, up to me. I wanted to be supportive. It wasn't, I guess I had no right to tell you not to pursue your dreams.
Right.
It wasn't my dream, but I thought, okay, if this is what you want to do, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's see where it goes.
Which I'm so grateful for, because there's just a lot of people whose spouse won't, quote unquote, let them. And of course you have the power to do whatever you want to do, regardless of what anyone else says. But when the person you're married to or with just refuses, I mean, it's a tough decision. Mm-hmm. And I'm just grateful that I never had to make that decision of, do I do it even though she said no?
Right.
Because that could lead to divorce, that could lead to fights, that could lead to arguments. And so it's tough. So I'm so grateful for that. And by this point, we were still living with your parents. It had probably been a couple months. We decided to start the business. And I don't remember how the conversation went, but I'm assuming it was probably like, well, we can probably just stay here for a couple more months. It shouldn't take that long.
Right.
And it just didn't take off. No. And you were working every day, coming home, and then seeing me just like probably still my PJs working on the computer. Like,
Right.
what was going through your head having to work every day and coming back, seeing me, and then really not seeing any progress?
You know, it's hard to, I guess, pinpoint specific, like, I feel like it's kind of a lot of blur when I look
Yeah.
back at, like, I do remember sitting on the computer for long periods of time. You would have dinner and then go back to work on the computer for hours at night. And I just never really knew what exactly you were doing, like what was going on that would take just hours and hours and hours of your day. As the business developed and changed directions, the amount of work changed as well. You know, it suddenly became you working that long, that many hours on the weekends.
Right.
That was hard. On holidays, you know, that was hard. That was frustrating. And so I didn't really know how long it was going to be going on for, but I just really had to just kind of have faith and just trust that it's going to work out, that maybe we just put some long, hard years in up front and hopefully have some sort of payoff on the backside later in life where you can be more around and pick your schedule and be more available with the kids and that kind of stuff.
We didn't even have kids back then.
No, yeah, this is before children.
It's not yet.
So yeah.
So I think around that time, I started pivoting from real estate videos to teaching YouTube and ranking and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started to see a little bit more traction.
Right.
But basically what I was doing during those long nights was making YouTube videos for the real estate business.
Right.
So I was like making marketing videos and then taking my SEO knowledge from our websites, applying them to videos, and they were skyrocketing. But I didn't know how to make a video. So what I was doing was like editing. And I remember like you'd come home from work and I'd show these videos that I just edited. And it would take me like 3 days to make a video, like 24 hours, like 8 hours a day, 3 days.
Like pan and scan.
Yeah.
Like.
And we look at them now and they're just so awful. They're like the worst ones. But I remember we bought a $200 camcorder, not even like a DSLR, like an actual camcorder that you would record your family with.
Right.
And that's what I made the videos with because that's all we had.
Right.
And I was doing that in your parents' garage. And then we started pivoting to the ranking stuff and teaching how to rank because I was getting pretty good at it. But that was probably like 2 years in. And still there was no traction.
Right.
And I remember going on these long walks on the beach and stuff and just telling you like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. Well, I think it's like after you put these videos out there that people will find them
and buy
and again buy them and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
I remember there was one moment where you just really were really frustrated, overwhelmed, stressed out, and you were just like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, and you just seemed kind of lost. And I was like, oh, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna work out, you know, stay positive. Like, I'm sure lots of business owners go through this. It's no big deal. And I was just trying to say all the positive and right things to be encouraging, but really inside, I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, how long have you been feeling like this for? You didn't tell me. I am very stressed out now because, you know, we're still not making anything and I'm still having to support us. And I'm not liking my, like, it was just kind of a lot. You know, at one point. And I remember you just like crying. We were walking on the beach and I was like, I don't know what we're doing. This is kind of crazy, but we'll have to just figure it out together. Yeah.
And I kind of remember that. I remember the cry. I remember crying on the beach and just being like, I think what it was is I just didn't know and I wanted to be strong, you know, like not to freak you out. And then I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, nothing's working. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
And we're just starting to get into the ranking stuff. And then you wanted to start a family.
Right.
And you wanted to do that.
Yeah. You know? I mean, I think my biggest calling in life was always to be a mother.
Yeah.
I knew that. I knew that when I was a kid. When I was 15, I met you and I told you I want to have 3 kids.
Yeah.
And when we got married, I wanted to have kids right away. I would say I wanted to get married even earlier than we did and have kids even earlier. And I just kind of felt like we always had to wait because of the business or because whatever was going on with your career. And I understand obviously the, financial instability, kind of figuring out, well, why would we start a family when we don't even have our finances in order, kind of thing. But I also felt like we'll figure it out as we go. If we're living with my parents who aren't charging us rent, this will be perfect. It's like a free house. You're already at home. I'm still working. You can watch the baby. Like, I was trying to justify how this could all work out. And then my parents came to us and said they're actually moving out of the country.
Yeah.
My dad had gotten a job offer to teach abroad English in Turkey. And so my mom was going with him. So they weren't going to be at the house for 1 to 2 years, and it actually worked out. And they actually asked us, can you please stay even longer than you've already been here?
Right.
I think we'd already been there for like 2 years at that point. And they asked if we could stay for like 2 more. Just because otherwise the house would be sitting there vacant.
Right.
And so here
they didn't want to rent it out.
They'd have a vacant house. They didn't want to rent it out. We don't have anywhere to go. It weirdly worked out that we could stay even longer.
And by the way, we'd been there for 2 years with them by this point.
Right. We were already there for 2 years. So we thought.
And you were pregnant.
Yeah. Well, that's when we just found out.
Right.
We thought, oh, okay, let's try to have a baby. And then it happened. And then I think the moment we found we were pregnant, we were like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, this is kind of crazy.
Well, I remember the day you told me that you're pregnant.
I remember your face and you not talking for, I don't know how many hours, like just went silent,
I was freaked out.
And I remember a few times like kind of shaking you like, are you okay? Like, I feel like you literally went into shock and you just could not believe, that we were actually going to be having a baby. And I'm sure it was overwhelming.
It was overwhelming. Even though we weren't paying rent, we still had bills. Like, you had student loans, we had car payments.
Totally.
And then you were pregnant and you're like, I knew it was a timeline until you couldn't work anymore. And it was a timeline for me to get this thing working. Right. And then you told me, I don't want to go back to work.
Right.
And I was just like, okay. And I was selling my product and I was like, maybe if I discount it to $97 and I can just get 3 sales a day, that's $300 a day. It's $9,000 a month.
Right.
That would solve all of our problems. I'm like, okay, just 3 sales a day. That's all you need.
Exactly.
And I was like, this is doable. I can do this. And then I started, I don't remember what I did. I think at that point, I started also offering ranking as a service is what I was doing. So I was teaching it. I was ranking videos. I was offering it as a service and then doing the video stuff. And I was getting sales, but the business model was broken. Right. And we decided to stay at your parents' house longer, continue with the business, but I was on a timeline now. Mm-hmm. And then, do you remember what I did next after that?
You mean after the baby came?
Well, I think it was before Will was born. And I was watching James Wedmore.
Oh, yes.
And watching his videos because he was also teaching ranking at the same time. And I remember thinking, I just had this internal feeling of reach out to this guy. Like, you guys are both ranking at the top and he's clearly knows what he's doing because he's making way more money than you. And just, this is my internal thoughts. Do it. And then I got scared.
Right. And you weren't going to do it.
I wasn't going to do it. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I remember it clearly. You showed me some of his videos and said, I need to meet this guy. I have a lot to talk to him about, a lot of questions, and then you're kind of like backtracked and said, no, I don't think I'm going to. And I don't know him. What if he's an ass? What if he's like, doesn't have the time of day? What if, I'm sure people reach out to him all the time and have ideas or, job opportunities or partnerships. And I'm sure he's inundated with that. And I thought, do it, why not? Go to Laguna Beach, tell them you live in the area. Like, we'll just kind of like, say like, yo, yeah, you're just always down there. And, we're never down there. And tell him you want to just hook up and just get a coffee real quick and ask him some, and that kind of go from there and start a relationship. And if he's great and he's nice and honest, then that'll be awesome. Maybe he can give you a little kind of a mentorship kind of thing. And if he's an ass, just leave. We'll have to talk to him again. But you weren't going to do it. And I was like, you need to email him. You need to.
Well, the thing is I didn't even know why I was doing it.
Get a hold of him.
I didn't know why. I didn't have an intention. My intention wasn't to like pick his brain or like, there was just an internal feeling of like, you really need, there's something with this guy. You need to message him or reach out to him. And, I just send him the message about what I'm doing and I'm selling it to local businesses and I'm teaching it and I'm ranking up there with him and all that stuff. And then he didn't reply for 30 days. until his assistant like found my message, looked me up and was like, you really need to meet this guy. And she told him to take a meeting with me. And then went down there, got there super early to avoid
get
traffic.
there early. Make sure you buy him coffee. Don't let him buy you coffee, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny because you had this plan where you brought your laptop and you were going to ask him who has the #1 ranked like SEO video on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
And then he was going to say, well, I do, of course.
Yeah.
And then you were going to say, really? And then you opened up your laptop and you showed him how your video is actually outranking his video.
Yeah.
And kind of like how you were doing it and what your plan was to roll it out to, you know, the city and everyone's business.
Yeah.
And you guys just really connected.
Yeah.
And you were there for a long time.
We went to Starbucks and we talked SEO and all of this stuff, like 3 hours. Mm-hmm. It was like the best first date ever and better than our first date. Mm-hmm. But no, it was
connection. Yeah.
It was a connection and obviously he's like one of my best friends today. So it was, you know, meant to be. It's the way the cards were supposed to fall. But he did tell me, if you can churn this into $10,000 a month of recurring revenue, then we can create this product. And I was like, that's it. I'm good. Like, we're good. I'm going to do this and I'm going to be partners with James Wedmore and it's going to take off. Mm-hmm. And we never even created that program for like a year and a half or something like that, or even maybe 2 years.
Yeah. I would say at least a year and a half before it actually.
Yeah. Because within 6 months, I had built the business up to $14,000 a month. He'd said, here's what you need to do. Use this business model. And then I wasn't going to, like, Will was coming. So I was not going to let this.
It was like the fire you needed with the baby and with James saying, if you can prove to me you can do this concept, you know, I can help you.
Yeah.
We can take this and take off.
He said, here's the price point. And here's the business model. You make it work. You obviously know how to do it. Let's see if you can go sell it now. And I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I just walked door to door. I was like, I will walk door to door until I get $1,000 sale. And I did it. And I called you. I'm like, I just sold a video for $1,000. I'm like, I'm going to Three Amigos and getting burritos. What do you want? Like, that was a big deal for us.
Yeah. Anything you want. Add guacamole.
Baby, you can get guacamole tonight.
When you know you can add avo with not even a shadow of a doubt in your mind, you're like, that's when you made it.
Proud to say I get guacamole every night now.
No doubt.
That's when you know you made it. But yeah, so we did that. And then Will was born. And then we still weren't really making a ton of money, like not enough to support. Like, yeah, I had done, you know, was doing like $14,000 a month, but then there's like expenses and taxes and like we had debt that we were trying to pay off and stuff like that. But then we didn't create the product with James for a while, like a long time.
Yeah, I remember that.
And luckily we were making enough for you to stop working is what we got to.
Right.
So you didn't have to work, but I was still working my ass off like it was grinding. I was grinding to make that money that we were making. And we started to launch the product with James and that went pretty well. Mm-hmm. And I think that brought us to the level of being able to move out because your parents came home from Turkey. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, did they ever have a conversation with us about how long we're going to stay there? Because it's been 4 years by this point.
No, I think in the beginning they thought, okay, it'll be a few months, maybe a year or so. I think after a while they were like, so what's Brandon's plan? Like where do you guys see yourself? You know, they were never pushy or saying you need to leave or here's a cutoff date or anything like that. But I think they were kind of after like 4 years, like, so like, where is this going?
Yeah.
And again, positive and supportive, but just a little not even understanding what exactly it is that you're doing,
right?
Or how you're doing it and how you can make money on it, and it just very a foreign concept to them.
I don't think they still understand what it is.
No, they don't. But they, you know, we couldn't have done it without them, though.
No, there's no way.
It would have taken
way
so much longer.
I think there's two things. Number one, had we not been able to live there rent free for 4 years, because for 4 years I was working full time on just discovering what it is I wanted to do, that's where I learned everything. I learned how to make videos, how to market videos, how to rank videos, how to sell, how to do emails, how to do email autoresponders, how to like set up Facebook ads, how to like actually sell, how to create a course. Like that 4 years was essentially like a college education on internet marketing for me.
Yeah.
But it was
all just trial and error.
Yeah, there's no teachers. So it was 4 years of just trying, failing, figuring it out, studying free content, like taking a little course here or there and just plugging away. But I would say it wasn't until I had mentors come in that things really started to take off. The first one, James, but right around James, then came Farton.
Oh yeah, Mr. Farton.
Mr. Farton. We like to call Jim Mr. Farton. Sorry, Jim, if you're listening. We all know he doesn't listen, so it's okay.
Yeah, he won't.
He might now.
Mentors took you to the next level, and it's something looking back now, you know, had you only done sooner.
Yeah.
And I do think that your wife suggested that, you know, like maybe we should reach out to someone who like knows what they're doing and like ask them like for help, you know. But again, going back to the strong-willed, stubborn, like I don't need help, I can do it myself. And it wasn't that you couldn't do it yourself. It just, this was going to kind of propel us a little quicker. Well, you know, maybe a few things to maneuver in the field of business that other entrepreneurs have gone through. Yeah. To give you advice would really take, you know.
I just didn't see the value in it. And I was like stubborn and wanted to figure it out myself. I was always been like that. Like I remember like when I would play baseball, my dad was a great baseball player. And I was like one of the worst ones on the team. And he's like, let me show you. And I kept saying, no, until I was doing so bad that I was like embarrassed that I finally asked for help. So I'm one of those people that really has to be beat down so bad that you finally move out of your way. And what I'm learning now is to just ask for help way sooner. Like that's been a life lesson for me.
I think for everyone, it's definitely hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
There's a pride thing there.
Well, yeah, of course. And so we met Jim, and I met Jim because he just messaged me, saw one of my webinars about ranking, was like, hey, that webinar sucked. Let me start mentoring you. Do you remember me?
I remember, you were in the garage. You had your office set up there, and you said, hey, this guy, who I don't know out of the blue, just messaged me and said, he'll help me for free. Going to be a mentor and help you on some webinars, things like that. And I thought, some random person on the internet who you don't know said, I'll help you and wants nothing in return. I was like, oh, it's a scam. Yeah. Like, I mean, why would someone do that? Yeah. He'll want money. He'll want something in return. Maybe he's trying to set you up. Maybe he's going to ask for a credit card. I don't know. And I hate to think like that, but I just kind of thought, who has the time to even help some little kid, you know, online, and just expects nothing in return. And so I was a little skeptical. Yeah. Rightfully so. You were too, but then you were also very curious, you know, so you thought, well, let me just give it a try and see what he wants. Yeah. And he wanted nothing. He wanted nothing. I even said, like, I know you probably want help with ranking. I'll help you with your like rankings and stuff. And he said, no, I don't want anything. And later to find out, he told me that same feeling that I had with James, like, I just need to meet this guy. He had with me. He was just like, I'm connected. I'm connected to this guy. I need to like help him. And he's like, that's all I felt was I need to help this. And now knowing Jim and the work with DX and all of that stuff, a lot of that makes sense now because he's very in tune and all that stuff. And then he came out to Burbank because he was selling real estate packages to real estate agents back then. And so I remember we picked him up from the airport. We picked him up from the airport. Baby Will with us. Baby Will. And we dropped him off at one of his presentations to like meet him. Yes. And we just picked up this random guy on the internet or from the internet. Yeah, I was like, I hope he's not like a serial killer and gonna like kill us or something. And he was nice. He was nice. And I remember he had a comment that said like he wanted to help you and build up your business. And he's like, I just want to make sure you really want to actually like, serve people and like help people in the world. And you're not just doing this for money. And then we kind of made a joke that if Brandon was just in the industry of film and you just wanted to make money, that you should just be in porn industry then, because we're definitely in the wrong field. I will be honest, there were moments in that 4-year of journey of not making any money, of just going like, if I was just in porn or had a porn site, Yeah.
I wouldn't have to deal with any
Like
of
they
this.
just make so much money.
They just make so much money. That would be so
And we
much.
know other videographers who have worked in both fields, and they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just so much
This
more
would
money.
be
It's not even funny.
This would be so easy.
I know.
And that would go through my mind so much. I'm like, it would be so easy just to do that. Because I remember when I had humor sites,
Yeah.
a lot of them would turn to like semi-porn sites, the girls in bikinis, and then would get more risque because that's what made the money.
Right.
The problem with the humor sites is I could never figure out how to monetize them. I'd have all this traffic coming in. I could never figure out how to make money. So I would just sell them and then let that person deal with how to make money with it. And then I see all these sites, in order to make money, they would start going down like that porn route. And I'm like, man, I could do this. I could make money, but values, core values, didn't want to do that.
Right.
And so we met Jim, I started working with James, and things with Local Video Academy started to take off. Like we were making more money.
Right.
And I think right around that time is when we finally moved out.
Right.
And I didn't want to move out because there's always an up leveling that happens with business. And for me, the first up level was you quitting and then me having to take responsibility for the bills. Now the next up level was to now move into our own place where we're responsible for rent plus all the other bills. And we wanted a second kid.
Yeah.
And now we had bought like a new car and we'd bought some stuff. So that was uncomfortable for me to finally make that move. But I mean, how are you feeling being at your parents' house for 4 years?
In the beginning, it was great, you know, and then when they were gone, it kind of felt like it was our own little house.
Right.
And then when they came back, it was harder because there was suddenly the dynamic of the baby too.
Right.
My, parents are loving and helpful, but it was hard because I wanted to be my own parent with, our child. And then they're telling me one thing and I'm trying to do another. And I felt like we were stepping on each other's toes and kind of getting each other's way in the kitchen. And then I felt like all of a sudden I was just like kind of suffocating. Like I just needed my own place. I was frustrated that this business idea had taken so long and we've been together for so long that, we never even got to live just together on our own.
Yeah.
That we got married, moved in with them immediately, put all of our wedding gifts that weren't even like opened in a storage unit and locked it away for 4.5 years. And I started to kind of become resentful of the fact that we didn't have our own place. Why can't we have our own future? No bride wants to move back in with their parents. So I was trying to keep myself in check, but yeah, it was getting harder. I just knew in order to preserve my relationship with my parents, we need to move out. Yeah. I didn't want to start kind of bickering or, or it getting hostile or now you owe us money. I just didn't want it to get conflicts. And I was like, we need to go. It's been enough time. Even if it's a tiny little apartment, 1 bedroom, that's fine. Like anything at this point is fine. I'll take it. But it wasn't healthy or in my best interest, especially to stay. Right.
And, we finally moved. You found a place. We were looking up in Newbury Park, which is where we wanted to be. And you ended up finding this house, and it was like this house from the 70s that probably hasn't been updated in 20 years. Yeah. But it was like perfect for us. Like we just had one kid. It was a 3-bedroom.
We just wanted our own place. We didn't care what it looked like.
Yeah.
We just wanted our own space.
Big yard. So we made the move, and I know exactly how much the business was making then. The year before, we made $120,000 in revenue, not profit. Maybe like 40 or 50,000 that year. But then the business had made 200,000 and maybe profit of like, I don't know, 70 or 80 grand or something like that. So we decided to move in, and I know how much money we were making then because on the application, it says, what's your monthly revenue? Or like, how much money do you make?
Right.
And I wrote $20,000 down a month and, or $200,000 a year or whatever. But that wasn't really what we made. That was what the business made.
Right.
And I was like hoping that they didn't check, know?
Right. Totally.
Because I really wanted us to get the house. And I think that's what got us the house is how much money we made.
We also offered to pay a few months up front just to kind of like schmooze over the landlord. We knew several people were interested in the home at the same time, and we thought, let's just pay up front and just, be very confident about it, and it'll help us get the place.
We paid like first month's, last month's, and like the second month or something like
Right.
that. But that drained almost everything we had in our savings.
Right.
And so we basically moved into this house with nothing in savings.
Yeah.
Just hope
Very smart move.
The business worked out.
I highly don't recommend doing that.
No. So what happened then with the business, and how are you feeling?
Gosh. I remember thinking we can just kind of fake it till we make it,
Yeah.
in all areas of our life. And
This was year like 5 or 6 in the business, by the way.
yeah. I actually kind of thought the business was maybe doing better than it actually was. I think there was also a disconnect with me and the business and the money. So I thought, oh, we'll be fine. Like maybe you're just exaggerating. It's not that bad. We're not keeping it that tight every month. And
Well, it was hard because we had not made any money for so many years that when we started to make more money, we wanted to spend it. Like we wanted to go out to eat. And it's not like we were spending it crazy.
No, it wasn't like, expensive shoes and long vacations. It was just like, oh, cool. Maybe we don't have to go to Olive Garden. Maybe we can go somewhere nicer,
Right.
or maybe we could, get a bigger car because now we have a baby. Or you kind of started to justify, like, you work so long, so hard, like I should get a new bike, that kind of thing.
And that's what we did. We both got new cars. We started to get like clothes. We started to go out to nicer dinners and stuff like that. And we would justify it as we worked so hard to get here. Let's do it.
Like we earned it.
Yeah. The problem is that that would eat into the money we're making. So we're still really living paycheck to paycheck. Like if income had stopped, we probably would have been, screwed within a month or two.
Right. Right. I knew at some point though that you needed like real employees.
Yeah.
Like that you just couldn't do everything on your own every day. And I remember thinking like, I don't think like business owners are the ones checking the daily email and the daily to-dos. And you were doing that. I thought you needed someone to help you to do like that kind of thing while you can do more of the creating side.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to go about it. And then the conversation of, well, I don't have any money to pay someone to do that.
Yeah.
And who's going to want to work for free? And I thought like get an intern, get someone like who's just fresh out of college, who just needs something for a few months, and then tell them like, we'll pay you down the road, like in a year, and see if that works out.
Yeah. And we were entering a dark time. We didn't know we were entering a dark time too during all of that because the business was taking off. Lily was born, our second was born. And with the business taking off, 2 kids at home, I had to get out of the house because it was just too much to be able to work. So we ended up getting an office. And so now I'm leaving the house to go to an office. You're home with 2 kids and I'm working a lot. Like I'm working. And I remember I was prioritizing business and work way over family. And I was doing it because I was trying to pay the bills. Like in my head, it was like, I need to go do this in order to pay the bills for the family. Like, so I am doing it for them.
Right.
But it was hard because we started to become disconnected.
Yeah, it was a very stressful time after Lily was born, our second. It felt like we were just kind of living our own lives, like where you were working so much, not the office so much. And I was just feeling like a single parent, doing all the house stuff, and the 2 babies at home. I also didn't realize at the time I was sick, I, have, and still continue to have autoimmune issues. So I was drained and depleted very easily.
Yeah.
Way more than I should have been because I was out of balance internally, which I didn't know. And so it was hard. It was feeling like I was never getting a break, but then you weren't getting a break, and we weren't meeting in the middle and trying to figure out like how can we better support each other, and what do we really need to do to kind of make sure all of our needs are met. It was just kind of like, you do your job, I'll do my job, and then we'll meet at night.
Yeah.
And it became very unhealthy. I don't think you can have a marriage run like that, have a business run like that. And yeah, it was challenging, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard because when we got married, we had this idea of who's responsible for what. And like, we had this agreement of, you're responsible for the household and dishes, and I'm responsible for paying the bills. So when I would come home and be like, well, I did my end of the deal and I'm just tired, so I need a break, but you still need to like do the dishes and things like that. And then, just communication, I think in any marriage is always the toughest thing. And we just had none. And it's one of these things that just, I think, was really slow.
Mm-hmm.
And you're slowly becoming disconnected and disconnected and disconnected, and you don't realize it's actually happening.
Totally.
And every day is just kind of survival. And then it just, I think that went on for a while for us.
I think got to the point where we were very dysfunctional. I don't, think a lot of people know that, our friends and family, but at home it was not a healthy environment for either of us, and we couldn't figure out really why.
Yeah.
I felt like we just kept butting heads, kept disagreeing, kept, frustrated about the money. Like, it just felt like all these growing pains that were happening with the business and the family at the same time was just so toxic.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to get around it. I look back and think, maybe we could have gotten like a therapist, or I don't know, read a book, or like something on kind of like, bettering ourselves and approaching things in a different way. But we didn't know, what we didn't know. We just kind of kept doing the same thing over and over and kept getting frustrated and kept feeling like, I don't know why we're not on the same page.
Be honest with you, I think that's how a lot of marriages end, is like, everyone gets stuck in their ways and their ruts, and they don't want to change. And then they don't want to recognize there is a problem. Cause I remember I didn't want to go to therapy back then. I didn't think we needed it. I was being, again, stubborn and all of that stuff. And then, I think it hit a peak, and then it kind of like plateaued a little bit. Like, I remember we took the kids and we did like a Bahamas trip, and I finally started to get away a little bit more. But that, honestly, it really, there was a point when we went $40,000 in debt. And I think that was the other problem, is that like the business was doing okay, but it still like wasn't making a ton of money, because now we take on more expenses, like the office, and, like we were spending more money on ads now, and we were doing all this stuff. There's still all these expenses, and I didn't know how to manage it. And then I wasn't happy with what I was selling. So then like I'd come home and we weren't really communicating, and then I wasn't happy with the business because it wasn't really what I wanted to do anymore. It's getting frustrated with the students. And it was really hard. It was on paper, like 2 kids, married to high school sweetheart, like in our own place, office, like on paper, it's like, yeah, everything should be good. And it was not good. Yeah. And it was tough.
It was very tough. Except for everyone, I felt like it just affected everything.
Yeah. And then I was $40,000 in debt. Didn't tell you. You didn't know. You had no idea. And I was trying to figure out what we were going to do. Do you remember that 3-month period?
I do remember eventually when you told me, and I thought, why did you not tell me? Yes, this is your business, but this affects us, our children, our home, our future, and this like can't keep happening. We have to work on our communication, although difficult, and handle it in a much healthier manner.
That's a shame.
Because, and I knew that. When you told me, you said you felt bad and you were trying to like fix it, or like, it's kind of like you knew it was there, but that you were going to kind of fix it before telling me, kind of thing. And it kind of just kept like, it wasn't going anywhere. Yeah. And then I thought, why didn't you just tell me sooner? I could help you. We could figure this out together. Like, I'm your partner. I'll support you. We'll figure out, we can sell something. I don't know, get rid of a car or whatever. Yeah. We can do something to kind of get through it together. And I think just by you telling me, you had a sense of relief. Yeah. And tough. We had to take this the next step together. I think that kind of connected us, like, good or bad, we're in this together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's making me emotional just thinking about it. But it was, and that's right when, like, my brother Adam was living with us in the garage for a little bit, and he was helping me out the business. Then he was like, you need someone else. And you said, you need someone else. And I remember I came up with the idea of the Video 4X effect. and then hired Taylor.
Right.
And it was one of those moments of like, we just have to do it. Even though we're $40,000 in debt, we need to get out of this hole and we need the help. Do you remember that time, like hiring Taylor, talking about it, our decision?
I do. Adam recommended her to you, right?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, she sounds great. Adam talked up how great she was, her experience with her past companies. And I just thought, not how are we going to pay her, but it was more like she could do so much to help.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out the money later if you could just let her know, like maybe she
Which
could
I
be like a
didn't.
trial basis for 3 months and then we'll pay her. But it's one of those things where it's like a catch-22, I think, for people like, I don't have enough money to hire employees or more employees. And it's like, you need these employees to get your business to the next level.
Yeah.
And I knew it's what it was going to be because I knew there was so much potential here. I knew that, like I said, there was so much more out there for us. It was just getting there. And I knew it was going to be hard, it may be even more stressful or even more tighter. You know, if we're going to have to eat beans for dinner every night. And I was like, we just have to hire her. Like,
yeah.
We need the help so badly. And I was pushing it a lot because I knew you needed help way earlier than you did.
Yeah.
By the time you hired her, it was one of those things where like, we should have hired this girl 2 years ago.
Yeah. We should have hired her before we went $40,000 in debt.
Right. Yeah. Maybe we wouldn't have gone in debt, but we figured it out, you know, in our own way.
Yeah. And like things with us still weren't perfect. They were better, I would say, at this point, but they still weren't good by any means. There's still like, we were still disconnected. I was still like, not listening and not showing up for the family first, like showing up for the business first. But we paid $4,000 to go to this mastermind. And I remember I got the idea of the Video 4X effect. I'm like, this is what I have to do. And outlined it, started it, hired Taylor, and then it just started taking off. And which was a good thing because we did like $1 million in sales in the first 9 months. And that, like, starting the Video 4X effect literally shifted everything. Like we were doing fine. We were doing okay. Like even if we didn't do the Video 4X effect, I still would have pulled us out of debt. Like I knew how to run a business. We did $500,000. Like we understood how to make the money. So we would have been fine, but this was just like another level. But we launched it as a course, a product, and a service at the same time.
Right.
And I think I was working even more now. Like
Right.
I think I was never at the house.
Yeah. It was one of those things where I started to question, you know, why are we business owners? Why are you an entrepreneur to begin with? I think initially before you even started any sort of business, we talked about this will be great, you know, because you don't have to work as much, right? Entrepreneurs can make their own hours, their own days, their own times. They can take a vacation whenever they feel like it, and you'll be more present and more readily available for like school things with the kids or, you know, in a recital, whatever, things like that. And remember you told me I'll be more available than other dads.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is great. But then flash forward to the moment you're talking about, and it was the opposite. And I read something and it was like entrepreneurs work more than other people.
Yeah.
You know, they put more hours in because it comes all down to them and their shoulders. And if they don't do it, who else is running it? It's your company. And I thought, oh my gosh, like how naive of us to think you'd have much more time when you actually have less time than other people now.
Right.
That was hard.
Yeah.
Kind of accept.
It was. And it eventually got better. I think part of the reason why they have less time is because I just don't think a lot of entrepreneurs know to build a business, like how to build a real actual business, like treat it as a machine where there's systems, there's processes, there's employees, there's responsibilities, there's KPIs. Like how do you treat this as a system in a machine? That's one of the first problems. The second problem is I think sometimes they just, as an entrepreneur, you just want to keep growing and growing and growing. And even though you get to a point where you can relax, you're like, what's next? What's the big, and then once you go to the next thing, you do more revenue, it creates more problems, creates more systems. So you're always building. And like, we hit a point where we were doing 2 million a year or something like that, which is like the last 2 years. And I was just like, I don't want to work anymore.
Right.
And we just slowed down. Like I'm just like, if we just did $2 million for the rest of our lives and this is how much money we made from it. And I just worked as
Right.
much as I'm like, I would be happy.
Right.
But now I'm kind of fast forwarding. So let's go back to this,
Okay.
that 9-month period of starting the Video Forex. I'm working all the time. We were still kind of disconnected. What was going through your head? And was there ever like a thought in your head of like, when is this going to end? Or, I mean, what was really going through your head?
No, I just remember watching you in the backyard walking around, like January, February, March for like months,
Yeah.
just walking and pacing and like maybe writing things down. And I just thought, what the hell is he doing? I'm not seeing any money coming in right now. I'm not seeing any action being taken. I'm not seeing results. And I'm a little bit scared, like that this would just continue forever. Like, at what point is it like, okay, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, it's been 15 years. Now what?
Right.
And so I started to think, maybe you're crazy. Maybe I married like a crazy person. And I'm just now realizing it. And I just, you know, again, trying to be supportive, started thinking like, I don't know if this is safe, you know, because at this point now you're thinking of the children, right, and their
Right.
future. And like, we don't have a savings, we don't have a 401k, a retirement, a pension. Like, this is probably insane. And I don't know what point it will stabilize.
Right.
And I was worried because what were we setting our children up for?
Yeah.
But I just kept trying to follow your lead. You had all these great ideas. I just didn't understand where they were coming from and where they were going.
Well, I had also just started working with DX, Don Javier, probably even before that $40,000 in debt thing. And since working with him has opened up so much awareness and ideas and things. And that's when everything's like, all these ideas were coming in, and I would always be sitting in the silence, and that's what pacing in the backyard was, and all of that stuff. And then writing down what would come up and just exploring and rediscovering who I was. And I was going through all that, and I was like getting into personal development, and I was just like
the personal development journey.
shedding a lot of the external world, shedding a lot of that stuff. And I was going through this like massive rebirth of who I was.
Yeah.
But we were so disconnected, I couldn't explain any of that to you. Like, I just was doing it on my own, you know. I was like going through my own like journey and having all these ideas, and we just had awful communication. Like, it was just not great. And then, you know, we got through, like, our launches started getting bigger and better. Was there ever a moment where you're like, okay, things are starting to shift or change now? Like, when we finally started the Video Forex Effect and hired Taylor?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. One of your launches, I can't remember which one, but I thought you guys did really well. And I thought, wow, this is kind of crazy. Like, maybe you did 400,000 or something like that.
Yeah, we did.
And I thought,
It was 9 months into creating the Video Forex Effect. We did 2 beta launches, and then we did a final real one of the real program, and that did 400,000.
yeah. And when that happened, I thought, we've hit another level.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was, you know, this is where we're going to be at, you know, for the rest of our life. But I just knew you had kind of somehow like taken a step up, and I was very proud of you, because I had seen the behind the scenes, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, to get to that level. And I just kind of couldn't believe it, because I remember thinking, you know, all we wanted to do was just like get Olive Garden and like, you know, get like a big cheese pizza. And that was like it, you know, years before that. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, like there's much more opportunity now if you're able to bring in this type of revenue and have this many employees and to scale it. And it kind of like opened this possibilities world that was just unheard of. We
had hired Spencer and Jackie, and like money was just coming in because this idea was moving so fast. We had reoccurring from the business. But it was still so much work. And I remember like breaking down at the office one night, and I was just like, and Taylor was there, and she's like, "Are you crying?" And I was just like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so overwhelmed. We have so many scripts to do. All I want to do is go home, and I want to see my kids, and I want to like go play with them." And and she was like, "This is just temporary. Like, we're going to get it figured out." And you know, we're hiring people, and
Yeah.
it's just temporary. Like you're going to go see, you'll be able to go spend more time with your family. And it was just really hard. And then we hit that like $400,000 launch, and you're right, we hit another level. And this was probably like 7 years into the business now. And so this is probably like 3 years ago. And things started to get better. Like our dinners started to get a little bit nicer. And I remember we went to the Ritz-Carlton, Bacara in Santa Barbara for an overnight.
Right.
We used our credit card points to go there.
Right.
And both of us got there and we were like, what?
Yeah, it was so beautiful.
We were inspired by James because he would always do staycations at the Montage. And we're like, let's do a staycation.
Yeah.
And we went there. What was your feeling when we finally went to like our first Ritz-Carlton in a nice place?
A really nice hotel. I was in disbelief. I was so excited, and everything was so beautiful, and you know, the customer service, they greet you by your name in the hallways. It's like they like treat us as if we were a celebrity or something. And I think that's just their standard of care, you know, there. But I remember sitting there, and we had dinner by the beach, and it was just really nice, just much needed, kind of a celebration for us to just kind of the launch and everything, and night from the kids, and you know, just all of it. And I thought like, wow, people like live like this, vacation like this all the time. This is normal for them. And I thought maybe this was just a nice treat for us every once in a while. And then I asked you, do you think we'll always be able to stay at like nice hotels? And you kind of just sat there for a second, and you said yes.
Yeah.
And I believed you.
Yeah. And we have. Luckily, we just use credit card points. Like that's the beauty of launching, is when you have your Chase Inc. preferred card, and you spend $100,000 in ads, you get 3 times the points. So we would just rack up all these points, and we just do these nice vacations and save them. And
cash them out for
we
one
took the
night.
kids to Bacara to the Bahamas.
Right.
We had like $5,000 in credit card points, so we just took them to the Bahamas, and that was the first vacation I had taken with you in.
Like a real vacation.
Like a real vacation. Even the one-nighters, like you would go to the bathroom. I don't think you even know this. When we would do those one-nighters at like Bacara and stuff like that, you'd say no computers, no phones. And I'd be like, yeah, no computers, no phones. When you would go to the bathroom, I would pull out the computer and I would do something that I knew Taylor needed me to do. Yeah. And then I would do it. And then when you're coming out of the bathroom, I'd close it real quick and put the computer back.
Yeah.
And so at least there was no computers with us, like the one-on-one time, and we started to connect a little bit better. Like I said the relationship started to get better by now, but we had never really addressed anything. We never really addressed, hey, here were some serious issues. We should fix it. But
right. You kind of just push through because you're like in survival mode.
Yeah.
And there's almost like no time.
Yeah.
It was like the business was taken off without you.
Yeah.
And, you know, balancing the home stuff, I could never catch a breath or get a break.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't hire help. We couldn't afford it, you know, so it was still kind of spinning all over the place. Like had all these dishes in the air, like trying not to drop one of them.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard, and I'm just so grateful we got through it, and things started to get a little bit better now, but still the underlying issues were still there. There just was less pressure on them. So they're kind of hidden now.
Right. Right.
So there still wasn't great communication, but when there's no pressure there, it's just like you don't see it.
Right.
And then we finally took a vacation to the Bahamas with the kids, and that was really the first time in 7 or 8 years where I was able to take a fully present vacation.
Right.
Like no work. Taylor was there, Jackie and Spencer, and I think Aiden back then were there. So we had like 4 employees, and I didn't have to worry about anything. And it was amazing. It was like such an amazing vacation. And you were pregnant with Maddie. So we found out we were having a third, which means by now we did a great affiliate launch with James. We did a couple of other launches. The agency was going pretty well. And then I remember, because we got 3rd place in James's affiliate launch, we got to go on the affiliate trip to Hawaii.
Yes.
And I was like, this is going to be effing awesome. No kids, full week. Like we can drink.
Drinking for a week, no kids.
And we get there, and what?
The morning of our flight to Costa Rica, right?
No,
Hawaii.
Hawaii
Hawaii with all those winners, I found out I was pregnant with our third. And I didn't know how to tell you
'Cause I didn't want a third
at
kid.
all.
I did not want. I was like,
no.
hey, we got past the hardest part. Like Lily's 3. She's, like being potty trained. We don't have to do diapers anymore. They can go in the backyard and play. You really want a third? And then you told me, if you don't want a third, go get a vasectomy. And then I was too afraid to do it, so I didn't. And then we got pregnant with a third.
Yeah, and I remember just that day thinking like, oh, this is such bad timing. Also because I was really excited to go drink for a week and just hang out with adults and not, talk to children all day. So I tried to kind of wait. Maybe I'll tell you on the way to the airport, and that was like a bad timing in the Uber. Maybe I'll tell you on the plane that everyone was talking all around us. Maybe I'll tell you when we land, and everyone wanted to immediately go drinking the second we got our bags. And I thought it's just bad timing all around. So I was drinking like iced teas, and so it looked like a beer, but it wasn't, and it was just, I was so nervous to tell you, but I just knew I had to. And so the night we first checked in, I think we were going to bed, and I just said, I love you, and I support you in your business and all your dreams, and sometimes life throws you curveballs, things that are unexpected or not planned. But we're going to get through it. And you were just kind of like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, just listen. And I said, I'm pregnant. We're having a third baby. And you just, were kind of bewildered, just in shock, couldn't process it, in denial. And I just had to let you like go through all the emotions, because I had at least had 12 hours to process it. I knew it would be fine. I knew eventually it would work out and we'd be okay. I think it was just still kind of a lot, at one time. And then we had 7 days of trying to hide that from people.
Everyone else. So we get back and we continue to build. And I remember just having to process that, and then knowing that you're getting pregnant and being like, okay, I really need to get things figured out now. And
at this point, it wasn't a joke anymore. It wasn't like trial and error and try to figure out the business. It was like,
and we
need to do this if we're doing this.
Well, we were still living at that house. We were still living at that, small house with the kids that we've been there for 4 years now. This is the house we moved out of, after moving out of your parents' house. We moved into this house, and you didn't want to be there anymore. Like, you were just like, I don't want to be here anymore. It's run down. It's old. It's too dated. Small.
It needed a lot of work. There was a lot of problems, like the plumbing.
We had a landlord from hell. Yeah,
it was just a lot of issues with the home going on. And I just knew with a third baby on the way, we've already outgrown this house. It was, I think, kind of just a toxic environment of everything at one spot. And I just knew we needed a bigger
So you wanted to buy. I didn't want to, because it was the top of the market. And we, I think inside the business, saved up like $200,000 or something like that. And we had payroll and stuff. And I'm like, this is the first time in my whole entrepreneurial journey where I'm comfortable with money. We have savings. We have income coming in. In order to buy the house, I'm going to have to drain $100,000 out of the business. And then we're gonna have a higher end mortgage, and like I have all these, and it was extremely stressful, and I didn't want to do it. But when I look back, you've always forced us to up level. Like, you forced me to finally, like, you called me out on starting the business, number one, then to move into the actual house that I didn't want to move into, which ended up being a great decision. Then you forced us into buying, like hiring Taylor, getting the office. And when I say forced, that's just what I'm saying, for lack of a better word. But it's up a level. Like, I wouldn't have done those things had I not had you. Like, it was on my own. Would I have bought in the house? Probably not. Would I have stayed at somewhere where I can be rent free? Probably. Would I have hired Taylor? I don't know. Probably not. And so you've always forced these necessary up levels. And so we did end up buying the house, and I did end up listening. And it was stressful. I was worried, because then we dumped more money into remodeling it.
I knew we could make the mortgage payments. It was more like the the down payment, I think it was hard in this, especially in this area.
Well, the expenses in the business were getting expensive now.
Right.
And to only have $100,000 in the business when your payroll is like 25,000 and you have office and you have all these other things and you need money for ad spend. And it put me in an uncomfortable spot, especially now that I had people's livelihoods in my hand.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we didn't even put 20% down on the house.
Right.
And people told us not to do that. And this is the thing, is just do what is right for you, I think. And that's what we've always done, because people told me, don't buy this house because you're going to have PMI and it's like $99 a month. And we ended up making, well, I'm not going to go over the numbers of what we made on our house, but I'll just say what we bought the house of in equity in 2 years, it's gone up about 50% in value.
Yeah.
And had I been worried about $99 a month in PMI, we wouldn't have made all this money on the equity of the house. So you always have to we've always gone against grain. It's always worked out, but you forced us to get the house. And it was one of the best decisions I think we could have ever made. And it became easy to pay that because the business kept growing. Things kept getting better. And my question to you is, like, from being in that house to this house over the last 2 years and seeing the growth of the business, how has it felt? Because I think now we're finally hitting the vision of what we had set out 8 years ago.
I feel like now it's a well-oiled machine. I feel with the staff that you have running the business, your day-to-day, things seem more smooth. It's not running all over, you doing everything, trying to hire, no systems. It feels like it's very, to me anyways, well organized on that side. And then same with the home stuff. We started hiring and delegating out. We had someone come help, a personal chef with meals, a housekeeper cleaning and laundry. We had a nanny to come help out here and there. And it just made things run more efficiently. So at the end of the day, we could still connect and have time for each other and, make things that were a priority to us, like spending the evenings together, going on walks, things like that, they were more doable because we had these things more in order. We weren't just kind of running around with like chickens with their heads cut off every day. Feeling like we weren't sure what we were doing. Right.
And people always say money can't buy happiness. And I don't think it can. I think if you're like messed up internally, I don't want to say messed up internally because that sounds bad, but if you can't find internal peace without money, you're not going to find internal peace with money.
Right.
But the thing is it can create a lot of, I think Mel said this, a lot of conveniences in your life that take a lot of pressure off. And when the pressure's off, for us, it allowed more time to be able to do those reconnecting things.
Mm-hmm.
And so our life has been up leveled over the last couple years because of the success of the business, which is accumulation of the last 8 years.
Right.
How does it feel now to you? Like looking back on everything that we've gone through, would you do it again? Would you not do it again?
Yeah, I would do it again because, well, I believe in you. I always knew you could do it and that you would get there. I just didn't know when. And I think I wanted things to happen sooner than they were in all areas of our life. But I just had to kind of keep the faith and keep pushing us forward and keep encouraging. And I knew it would kind of all line up. I don't know that I recommend starting a family and a business at the exact same time to someone. Maybe do one for a while and then do the other one or something. That was very overwhelming. It still is at times.
Yeah.
But, is it worth it? Can it be worth it? Yes. I mean, we haven't killed each other yet, No. I mean, I loved you before we had money and I still love you now. And I think it is possible. And I think you can beat the odds of this extremely high divorce rate in this profession.
That's what people don't talk about. It is a very high divorce rate.
It's like 80% or higher as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I would say the thing is for us, when things started to get better over the last couple of years, the same issues were still there. There's just less pressure on it. So it was easier to reconnect and stuff. And then this year really put it, was just a hard year with COVID and just everything. And we've gone through a lot of things this year. We don't have to get into the details of it, but obviously you mentioned like, you had autoimmune issues really come up this year. You finally got diagnosed with it. So we knew what it was. And that was a whole lifestyle change. And, there was an incident with Will, our son, and just a lot of stuff. And there was accumulation of like kind of a breaking point or boiling point for us to finally address a lot of the issues over the last couple of years that had never been addressed. And that was tough because we were going into a launch this year in August while doing it. And emotionally, I could not show up for the launch. I just could not get myself there. And it was just really hard. But I'm so grateful for it because it really forced us to look at those issues over the last couple of years that we just didn't even realize were there, and to finally fix them. And now having gone through that together and looking back on starting a business, what advice would you give to a couple who is married and starting a business? Because I think the last 6 months have really taught us how to run a successful marriage and business to a whole nother level that we've never uncovered before.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I could say. I don't think I'm qualified for marriage advice, but.
Well, you're married and I would say we have a successful marriage. We have a successful business. So
I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned over the years is just letting go of expectations of how you think things should be. We should have more money by now. We should have a child by now. We should, have more in savings by now. This company should have grown by now. We should have a bigger house by now. And a lot of societal influences that you feel like you see your friends having, doing, your parents telling you. And so you start putting this pressure on each other.
Yeah.
And it's so unnecessary. You can write your own book, your own rules, your own way. Maybe it doesn't make sense to everyone else, and people thought we were crazy. But we thought if we just block that all out, we can make our own journey, our own path. And maybe it's different or it looks odd or it takes longer, but it's what felt right for us. And so, yeah, I would definitely say letting go of expectations was a big thing.
Yeah.
I think another thing is just, from a marriage standpoint, is like forgiveness. You will hurt each other, on accident, maybe intentionally if you're feeling pain too, but you have to be able to kind of get past that and then recommit yourselves over and over. That's a big thing I've also learned, that you don't just choose your partner once and that's it.
Yeah.
It's over and over, acknowledging and choosing them daily.
Yeah.
Despite their flaws or mistakes or things that come up, that you still know deep down they are the same person, that they're right for you and that you want to be together, that you want to work through the hard times. And I can say it probably would have been a lot easier to just throw the towel in and say, I'm out. I'm not doing this. This is so stressful. There's no money. I have no help at home. You're always gone. This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
That would have been easier than staying and being supportive and having faith and knowing we can get through this. And then I think there's a beauty in that you can see your relationship get to a whole nother level that you would not have seen had you just, I'm out.
Yeah.
And left. I'm not saying to stick around if you're in a bad relationship. I'm saying just know it won't always be like that. There are hard times, but then it's really kind of just really beautiful to see the other side of it.
Yeah.
To kind of see where you've gotten, how far you've worked. And I just to kind of look back and laugh at some of the houses we lived in, were kind of sketchy and just the challenges of the business with growth all around, and think we're kind of amazing. We've kind of, been through a lot, and I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
for not giving up on each other.
I think the thing is we still loved each other during all of it, even when it was really hard. Like I remember even the times I felt most disconnected, like when we first moved into that other house and then, Lily was born. That would say it was the hardest moment because we had the pressure of everything on us. But at the end of the day, I still loved you. Like I just wasn't happy with the status of our relationship, and I was getting into my own selfishness and I want this and I want that, and not really looking at myself and how I was showing up. But at the end of the day, I still loved you. Like the love never stopped. So I think that's great and amazing advice. And if I was to give anyone advice, and what I've learned, especially over the last year, is to just have compassion for one another. And you either grow together or you grow apart. And the thing is if you're going to grow a business, it's going to take self-development. It just is. Like you're going to be a different person when you finally have a successful business. And you need your spouse. I guess you don't need your spouse next to you, but it makes it a hell of a lot easier if you do. Doing this together, like we built this business together, and you always continued to up level me when I didn't even see it in myself. The thing is you still need, I think, compassion for one another. And what I've really learned is that when we were at the hardest moments, it was because I lacked a complete compassion for what you were going through. What was even like your childhood, like what childhood trauma or issues or things did you have to go through, and me as well, that you were dealing with, like understanding when you would snap, why would snapping happen? Or when I snapped, why was that actually happening? And to really understand, like take the time to either do therapy or do like the deeper inner work to really not understand yourself, but to understand your spouse. And to compassion, because there's things that you deal with or perspectives that you have, you're like, that's not a big deal, but your spouse doesn't deal with that as easily, and vice versa. And to really just have that compassion and to just like listen. I think my biggest issue is I just never, I would hear, but I never actually listened to you over the last like 5 years when we're going through things, because I was so consumed by the business. And it doesn't take a lot, 5 minutes, 10 minutes out of a day to reconnect with your spouse and talk about what you appreciate about them or what they went through today, and to actually listen without giving feedback. And I think if you're the entrepreneur in the relationship, one of the best pieces of advice I can get, which is a lesson I just learned, is that as entrepreneurs, we're problem solvers. We want to fix problems. That's what we do. That's what we get paid to do. That's not always the best thing inside of a relationship. And I started to realize I wasn't a great listener because I would try to fix your problems for you when you just needed someone to listen to you. And then I just never realized how frustrating or damaging that can be in a relationship. And I have to like take the entrepreneur hat off sometimes and just listen to what you need.
Right.
And what you're dealing with and what your perspective is. And I can just honestly say, like, when you do that, you just find a new found deepness of love for the other person. Like I can honestly sit here and say, like, I love you now more than I ever have my entire life because of this new like connection that we have.
That's nice to hear.
Well, it's the truth. So what else would you want to say to the listeners?
To the listeners, I would say, not to give up when it gets hard. And I don't know what getting hard and challenging is in your business or relationship. At what point is it too much? How much more can you take? But just because you're going through a hard spot doesn't mean you're going to be there forever, or for very long. And if you can kind of, move yourself out of it, it's a whole nother side that you maybe would never been exposed to.
Yeah. And I would say also to tack on to that, it's so much easier when your spouse is on board. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for you, and just want to say thank you for always supporting me no matter what. Cause we have friends who want to start a business and their spouse is just like, nope. And they just haven't for years. They just haven't done it. And so I'm grateful that that's not something I ever had to face, because you're always on board. So thankful for that. And the other thing I will say too, is that if you're lucky enough to have a spouse who is on board, like, treat them as a partner in the business, because they really are. And the thing is like, when you grow and you go through your personal development and you like change who you are, it's going to cause shedding. Like, I'm telling you right now, if you're just starting a business, you're going to lose friends. You just will, especially if you become successful. The friends you have, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them aren't going to be your friends when you finally make it. And we've experienced that. We've experienced a massive shedding of friends. One, I would say because of jealousy. Two, because who you are shifts and changes. And that when you became friends with that other person, they didn't become friends with this new version of you. They became friends with the old version of you. So when you grow, it's going to be amazing. But just know, like, those relationships are probably going to end. And the one person that you're going to have next to you is your spouse, like your partner. And to put that as a number one priority and get out of your ego and your self-righteousness, I think is really important. That was a big lesson for me that took 9 years of business to like fully really understand.
Yeah, I think being the spouse of an entrepreneur is a lot more challenging than maybe it looks.
Yeah.
Or than what you see on social media. You may think that, like, oh, she's got it made. He's successful, does well. I don't think people really see or understand all the growth and challenges that it took to get here and continues to bring up. People don't want to post those pictures or be in that room.
What's the thing?
But, if I could tell the entrepreneur, whoever you are, to just, like you said, to include the spouse, to not forget about them, to bring them on the journey with you and not leave them, behind, and involve them if you can, and make them feel like they are part of this, because this does affect them. This does affect your family, your personal life.
You have to look at life as a vehicle, I think. And I think as an entrepreneur, you look at the business as like the thing, but the business is like a wheel on the car. Your kids and your family is like a wheel on the car. Your household is a wheel on the car. Like, your personal finances are a wheel on the car. And that car, that vehicle driving, moving everything forward, isn't made up of just you. It's made up of whatever. And that took me a long time to realize, is that we're not doing separate efforts. We're doing one combined effort to make our life vehicle move forward.
Right.
And until I feel ashamed to say this, but it took me a long time to like realize that you're an equal partner in our vehicle of life. I never saw it as a vehicle of life. I always saw it as like, I'm the breadwinner and I'm this, and I'm starting the business and I'm doing whatever. And then I, one day I just realized, like, without you, I would have never started the business. Without you, I would have never gotten to this point. Without you, I wouldn't have a family. Without you, I wouldn't have the house. Without you, I wouldn't have, my life would be empty and would be meaningless without all those things. And so I think that's just as important as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's moments where you have to kind of stop yourself and ask yourself, like, what are you really doing this for? Who are you doing this for? What's your goal? Do you both have the same goals? Are they in the same order?
Yeah.
What is the priority here? And then maybe kind of reconnecting down the road and going through those goals again, because it's kind of surprising. I think it's easy to get swept up in the business and just grind and all day, all night. And all of a sudden, a few years goes by and you wonder why you don't know your spouse anymore. It's like, well, you never put in time.
Right.
You didn't make that a priority. You made the business a priority.
Yeah.
And so if you could kind of help someone to not go through as much, hardship or frustration, don't forget about each other.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thank you for everything you've done for me, for our family, for the business. I love you, and I'm so grateful.
We did together.
We did.
I love you too.
All right, everyone. If you guys enjoyed this episode, let us know. Tag me on Instagram, I am Brandon Lucero. Leave us a review on the podcast. And if you would like Jacqueline back on another episode, send us a DM and let us know.
Oh boy.
And let us know what you want us to talk about. So that's it for this episode. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.